I have somehow known very few Johnnies in my life, and the first Johnny that I knew was Johnny Garvin, who, when I was 18, I was in like deep unrequited love with Johnny Garvin. I had my first long-term relationship super young, when I was like 15 to 17, and so I broke up with that boyfriend, and then I met Johnny, and like he was like kind of a bad boy, but also I met him on like a poetry retreat, so he had music in his soul, and then I'd heard that he was like a bit like, you know, he'd like had some shit going down before in his life and he was quite wounded. And like those three things were just fucking catnip for 17-year-old me. And 46-year-old me has had a lot of therapy since then, but still kind of catnip for her. Anyway, I never told him that I was interested. Like, I never told any of his friends that I was interested. We all used to go to this pub, and I would just, like, sit near him in the pub, and then sometimes up at the bar, he'd be like, all right, and I'd be like, and fall apart. And then Valentine's Day came around. So here is the thing about the country that I grew up in, the United Kingdom. On Valentine's Day, unlike you Canadians, we don't give Valentines to our classmates at school. That would be weird. You only give them to either your sweetheart, or if there's someone that you have a crush on, you send them an anonymous Valentine's card, and you write either love from ? Or love from a secret admirer. And you usually like write on the envelope using your non-dominant hand. So, you know, it looks a bit scary, but it's like, then it won't be recognized. You don't do that in Canada. I've been living here 13 years, and I discovered that you don't do that in Canada 6 months ago. And I will also tell you that literally every year of my life that I've been single, I've sent an anonymous Valentine's card, which means that there are 2 or 3 people walking around Toronto, still probably slightly afraid for their life. I did, when I just got out of my big long-term relationship, I sent a Valentine's card to... I Googled to find like the production company's address. I sent a Valentine's card to the character Ted Lasso. And it said, "Dear Ted Lasso, please will you be my Valentine? To be clear, I'm fully aware that you're a fictional character, but I'm going through a breakup that's quite hard, and crushing on you is really helping soothe my broken heart." And I always like hope someone find it. And then Jason Sudeikis turned out to be a bit of a rotter, and I'm like, oh. But, you know, Ted is not Jason. Anyway, so I wanted to send him a Valentine's card, Johnny Garvin, but I didn't have his address. And so what I did, this is like pre-internet, I went to where he lives. So we're both from Southeast London, but he's like the other end. And London's so big that it took me like an hour and a half on 2 different buses to go to the local library of where he lives, and then look up in the electoral roll his parents' names to get his address. And then what I sent him was not a card, but I sent him a cassette tape with just one song on it. And the song was popular hit of the time, Wicked Game by Chris Isaac. Which, if you don't know it, the chorus is, "No, I don't want to fall in love with you." And I'm like, that's how I feel, Johnny Garvin. I don't want to fall in love with you. And so I just put that on the tape. But the only thing that I wrote anywhere other than his address on the envelope was on the label of the tape, 2 words in all caps in red pen: "Play me." And so I sent it, you know, I moved away, God knows what happened to him. Turns out Johnny Garvin is a very popular name in Ireland, so he's impossible to Google. I have tried. And, but it was only about a couple of years ago where I was like reading something, and I suddenly realized where it was that 17-year-old me got the idea to send a cassette tape to someone that said nothing except for "Play me." It was something I had seen done by a character played by Glenn Close, sending a tape to the character played by Michael Douglas in the movie Fatal Attraction. Which, if you're not aware, is literally about a woman stalking a man to the point where she tries to murder him. So if you ever meet a man from Southeast London whose name is Johnny Garvin, who has like sparkling blue eyes and looks like there's like trouble in his soul. And if you're like, hey, I know someone from Southeast London, and it turns out that it's that Johnny Garvin, just don't tell him you know. Just be like, interesting. Never heard of you. Okay, next storyteller. Are you ready?